All right, Matt, thanks so much for chatting with us. I know, of course, the first match was a difficult one. What have you guys done since? Is it one of those that you go through with a fine tooth comb, or do you just kind of chalk it up to, look, it was a bad day, let's move on?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are really analyzing this performance just because it's getting so close to the time where we're going to be on the world's biggest stage. So I think it is right to comb through it, comb through the fine details, figure out what went wrong, which we have done over the past few days. But at the same time, sticking together. I don't know how much you've been around the camp, but like we're all really close. So we're all able to hold each other accountable and like in a positive, good, healthy way, which I think is a huge strength of this team. So obviously, looking forward to tomorrow and our match against Saudi Arabia.
Well, we say that match was a bad one, but you were actually really good. You were the bright spark, I think, for everyone. I mean, were it not for your efforts, it probably could have been 4-0. For you, though, you're just on another level now. A lot more eyes are on you right now, too, and everyone makes a big deal of the competition between you and Zach. But how are you taking it? Do you feel the extra eyes on you now? Do you feel the added pressure?
I definitely don't. For me, it's just about going out there and playing to the best of my ability. I know what I offer this team. I feel like my body of work over the past 2 years has really shown what I can do for the team. And at the end of the day, it's the manager's choice of who's going to go in the goal. And I just want what's best for the team and football, soccer in the country. So I fully support Greg and whatever decisions that he has to make. And I'm not the type of person to take away, try to like make it about me. It really isn't about me, but what fans and what people can expect is that every time I go out there, I take every training session, every single game with the same mentality, the same mindset, and the same passion and care. And that's the consistency that I bring. And so that's why I go out there every time, and I'm always giving it my all. So I hope people know that.
But then, of course, the competition does help somewhat, doesn't it? Because we spoke to Jesus, and he says, look, when Ricardo Pepi walks in and he's on top of his game in training, he's like, it makes me want to be on top of my game. And ultimately, he thinks that that's what's helped, the extra eyes on him. Is it kind of like the same for you?
Yeah, but at the same time, goalkeeping is a little bit different because like we're all sort of like, no one understands a goalkeeper like another goalkeeper. So yes, we have to have that competitive edge. We have to want to train well and push each other to get better. But at the same time, we need to be each other's biggest supporters because we're the only ones that understand what it's like to make a mistake in a game and have all those eyes on you. And we have to be there to pick each other up. So I'd say, yes, the competition is great, but at the same time, goalkeeping is completely different in terms of like, that culture of always supporting each other and being in sort of that like goalkeepers union, everyone calls it. And so I think that's really like our mindset.
Yeah, we have Shaka Hislop on our show on ESPN FC, and he's always the president of Goalkeepers Union. He says goalkeepers never make errors. But it's good to obviously see more people, talking and having this extra focus on goalkeepers. There's so much made about, when you see the likes of Allison or Ederson playing, and now this new kind of improved goalkeeper, everyone having to play out from the back or be better with their feet. Is that something that you immediately bought into, or do you just kind of like the old school goalkeepers, let me do my job?
Yeah, at first I kind of thought like, well, this other way, this old school style really works for me, so I'm just gonna like resist change a little bit and just focus on keeping it simple, one thing at a time. But over time, I felt like the need to adapt if I wanted to be considered a great goalkeeper, not just one that could stop shots. And I think that my game has really adapted over the last, especially year, but over the last 2 years, it's adapted a lot. To become more of this sort of modern goalkeeper. It's with my own little spin on it, of course. Given my background, I don't have that same technical ability that all goalkeepers have. So it's required a lot of hard work and dedication. And, credit to my wife because I spent a lot of extra time at the training centers, doing extra work, trying to figure things out. And she's fully behind me to try to, support me so I can be the best version of myself, best goalkeeper that I can possibly be, and chasing this crazy dream all over the world.
Oh, you're going to get mad brownie points for that answer.
I
of
try.
course.
You know, we're so far apart right now. You know, I gotta try.
You gotta do it. And of course, life in the UK now. You mentioned the last year that you felt like you've kind of had to adapt and get into a new level of your game. I suppose what's been the most difficult thing in the last year in terms of adjusting and getting to that next level, and probably what have you kind of surprised yourself with? What have you embraced?
I think, yeah, obviously, like, I played well for a large portion of 2021 and set the bar really high, and then it was managing those down moments. Having World Cup qualifiers, having Gold Cup finals, having all these really super intense games with lively crowds, and then going back and playing in like half-empty MLS stadiums on a Wednesday night. It was really challenging to like ride those ups and downs, but I think I found like a bit of consistency in all that, that emotional toll that all of it was taking on me, because I think it was a lot heavier. It was a lot heavier on me than I originally thought it was. And obviously now the biggest change is now being a father, and being a husband, and those kinds of things that give you a little bit of perspective and a little bit of consistency in your personal life every single day, which is really, really helpful, because you come home and no matter how the day went, your son still looks at you with the same loving eyes, and your wife still looks at you with the same loving eyes, and those are really good feelings. And I have a really great support system from back home with my family and friends, no matter where I am in the world. They're always supporting me, checking in on me and all that. So I rely heavily on those people to keep me grounded in the really good moments and lift me up in the bad moments. So I think over the last year, I've relied on them a lot more than I had in the past. I kind of thought I could do it all by myself, and I think I realize now that it takes a village to be successful.
Yeah, well, I hope that village definitely is behind you now, because World Cup coming up. I know, of course, everyone has to fine-tune, and it's up to Greg. It's in Greg's hands. But, I mean, a World Cup for the USA, and especially given what happened in the last one, but in a year where it feels like, as we spoke to Weston in Dusseldorf, he said that now he feels the USA gets a lot more respect than before. This is like the dream come true, isn't it? Finally to arrive at a World Cup and feel like you're getting the respect to be there, and not just like, here are the Americans playing soccer, but this is football.
Yeah. No, it is good to be back. Not only for the respect around the world, but for the respect in our home country. I think for us, a lot of us love the idea of growing the game. It's the game that we all fell in love with. We've seen how it brings people together, and this is just another opportunity to showcase that, to showcase how this game is beautiful and brings people from all different backgrounds together, working towards a common goal. So it's an important time for the U.S. to be in a World Cup, I think, especially leading into the next one, and a great opportunity with all the resources we have in our country, with all the, infrastructure that we have. I think the sky's the limit for football, for soccer in the U.S. So to be able to be on the world's biggest stage and give young kids, like when I was 16 and I watched in love with the game, give them an opportunity to fall in love with the game and then dream about playing on the world's biggest stage, because they can point their finger and say, this person was in my shoes and now they're doing that, and so that's a really great feeling.
I'm going to have to put you on the spot, because, of course, everyone's so excited about this current crop of U.S. players that we've been seeing. They call them the golden generation. Some people, like Tyler, says he cannot stand hearing that. There's sort of embrace it and recognize that, I suppose, because we are seeing more playing in the big leagues in Europe, so to speak. For you, who's kind of stood out for you that you go into that training ground and you say, I'm glad that I get to play on the same team, on the same squad as this one?
It's hard to select one person, but like Tyler Adams, Brendan Aronson, Weston, like all these guys, they're so athletic, they work so hard on the field, they really give their all every time they step out, and that's like just feels good to be on a team with people that are like-minded in that sense. But at the same time, you talk about golden generations, and you think about my story, and I definitely was not one of those people that years ago that was considered top talent, golden generation level talent, but I still cracked my way through. So for like kids out there that aren't highly scouted, aren't getting all the attention that they think they might deserve, just keep going, because no matter if they say that something's a golden generation or whatever, you can still find your way in it if you keep working hard. So I'd say, yeah, I agree with Tyler. I can't really stand the whole golden generation thing. We're who we are. We're a young team. We're hungry, and we're going to go out there and express ourselves and have fun.
And as you said, the World Cup now, the days are ticking down, less than 2 months away. Do you let the nerves sink in? Like, is that something good, or is it excitement, or do you just try not to focus on it because, of course, you still have club games to go before that?
100%. It's a one day at a time type thing. As things get a little closer, obviously, you want to start thinking about it because you want to be able to have your intentions set. You want to have your mindset right going into the tournament. But again, like I mentioned before, as a husband, as a father, with a 3-month-old, you gotta
take real work.
Yeah, you gotta take it day by day, and that's the really scary stuff. Everything else is just a bonus at this point.
Imagine that. Going to the World Cup is an easy job. Being a father is definitely the tough one. And then now for this match against Saudi Arabia, of course, everyone's gonna crave a bounce back even more. I know you're limited at what you can do in the outfield. We spoke to Greg after the match, and he just said he just wanted more personality. Is that something that you noticed was missing in the last match, and how'd you get back to playing with that personality that we know the U.S. has?
I think that's a fair sort of assessment of everything. Sort of what we built our whole anchors on is about our personality, is about our diversity, is about the way that we take on challenges and can always rely on our anchors through tough times. And I don't think we did that. I don't think we coached ourselves enough on the field from a player's side. I think for us, Greg us in the right positions, give us the perfect tactics, whatever. But at the same time, we need to take ownership on the field. If things are working great, if they're not working, it's kind of like on us to figure it out, because think about a stadium in the World Cup. How is Greg really going to be able to relay messages to the field when there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of screaming fans making a lot of noise? So I think we've all looked in the mirror at ourselves and I don't want to put too much pressure on this game, but it is definitely one where it's the last time that we're together before the World Cup. So it's definitely an important one, and one that we hope to at least show the fight that this team really does have, and give the fans something to be excited for come Qatar.
And then final two questions, throwing it forward to the World Cup. Just the first one being, of course, given everyone's there, I know the group that you guys are in, and I know everyone likes to make a big deal of this England match, but I actually look at it as a good way, because finally, people, even we live in the UK, and feel that England have a reason to sleep with one eye open in that match against the USA. How do you see it? Is that something you embrace? Do you feel like this is the perfect time for the USA to go toe-to-toe and maybe even get a favorable result against this England squad?
Obviously, this England squad is a powerhouse. Yeah. They have a lot of really good players, but it's a great time for us to play them because of how many American players there are in the Premier League right now. So, obviously, the Premier League is the biggest, this is the most consumed league in the world, and same in America. We watch the Premier League the most in America, and so obviously a lot of people that are fans of the Premier League are fans of English players, and then they'll see their own American players going toe-to-toe with them. So it'll be a really great test, a really great game to continue to grow the game in our country, and it's sort of like the benchmark. I'd say England is kind of like the benchmark in a lot of ways, in their league, in the way they cover the sport, and all those things. So yeah, it's a good time, but you can't look past the other two games as well in the group, because our group is challenging. And I think before we can look into that England game, we really need to focus on our game against Wales. And every result really matters. Every goal that goes in the net on either side really matters in the World Cup. And the margins are so thin in these games. There's not a lot separating the teams. So we know that in these games we're going to need to be close to perfect if we want to do really well in the tournament.
And then finally, again with the World Cup, speaking about it from a CONCACAF perspective, I mean, I'm from Jamaica, and had we just qualified for the World Cup, had we just qualified for the World Cup, we probably would have gotten a week of public holidays again. But when you speak of CONCACAF teams, you think qualifying is it. That's the goal, you know, apart from maybe Mexico that's known for having deeper runs. But now people look at the US it's more than just participating at a World Cup. It's actually going deeper. What would be, you know, of course winning it is, you know, I know a dream that people don't want to talk about just yet, but what would be success for you? Is it, you know, out to the group stages, quarters, semis, maybe even the final?
Yeah, I'd say it's hard to judge what success would be sometimes. Obviously, from a mindset standpoint, you want to say, yeah, we're in it to win the whole thing, but there also needs to be realistic expectation in order to set your goals properly throughout. So we'll just take it one stage at a time. I think the only way to get through a tournament like this is to take it one game at a time. So getting results in our first 2 games, setting up that 3rd game to get out of the group, and then from there anything can happen. This is football. This is the World Cup. So that's the beautiful part of the game that we all love.
Matt, thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.